Hello, Liam Ball.
Hello.
I've just realised you've got Liam Dean written there. Is that your stage name?
Yeah, I'm so used to using that now, and I actually find it sometimes a bit weird when people call me Liam Ball because like I'm kind of known as Liam Dean now. But I like it. I like it when I come home and everyone tells me my proper name.
So we've known each other for a little while, Liam, haven't we?
Yes, just a little while. Yeah.
I remember walking with your mum, and I had two kids, Paddy and Molly, and I was pregnant with Tess, and she had Kurt and Yasmin, and I was saying, "Come on, hurry up, have another
I
one."
know.
And then she went, "Actually, I've got something to tell you," and it was Liam.
And I was on the way. We had to match it up though. We couldn't have left it with like 3 and 2.
It would have been a disaster. Imagine if
Yeah.
Liam hadn't resisted.
No, it would have all just been ruined then, wouldn't it? So
Life would not be the same.
not worth thinking about, really.
No, no. So you three were best friends all growing up. So we've known each other for a long, long time. And I remember you and my daughter Tess playing little dress-up games and little plays in the
It's so
garden.
funny because I like whenever I come home and I look through like home pictures and stuff or whatever, I always go back onto my camera roll and look at the pictures that Tess has sent me from when we were little, and I'm always either in like one of their fairy dresses or like a leotard or something with always rubber gloves. I don't know why I always had rubber gloves on as
Did
well.
you? Oh, I
Yeah,
remember that actually. Yeah, I remember.
my
It
mum said I
completely
just
got
loved
it. Yeah.
the yellow gloves.
I think it was because you probably didn't have any other gloves, and
Mm.
it felt like the dressing up. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
Noah, my 4-year-old grandson. He
yeah.
has to wear gloves of any kind if he's playing football, of any kind. Doesn't matter as long as it's
Oh,
matching, or if they're like proper winter gloves. As long as he's wearing gloves, he can play football. It's
yeah,
kind of with that mindset. So
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
maybe one of the things we can talk about is actually dressing up, the idea of becoming
yeah,
another.
yeah.
But before we dive into that, obviously now everybody knows how we know each other, and
Yeah.
how I've loved you dearly for over 22 years.
Yeah.
It's your birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah, March, yeah, just gone.
Yeah.
I actually luckily just had my birthday before like the whole lockdown stuff happened, so I was so happy about that because otherwise I would have had to have had it in lockdown.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure lots of people will be having their birthdays in lockdown, but celebrating them out of lockdown. But you were very lucky.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
when I first met you, I met you before you met you, but
yeah,
you're in Kendal. But then over the years, you and your family moved to Sedbergh,
yeah,
and you went to Settlebeck School, which is a tiny school, isn't it? So
yeah,
how
yeah.
did you even get into drama and performing arts from then? When was it? When kind of did the route take hold?
So it started in before that, like when I was at primary school, and my earliest memory of it, apart from really like going to see like theatre, like local theatre, so like at the Brewery Arts Centre, the pantomimes, and things like around Cumbria, was that my dad and his building business, MK Conversions, was doing work on the Brewery Arts Centre's steps, like the famous steps that they have going down. And I can remember he met this woman called Helen Moffat, who was the like arts, I don't know her official title, but like supervisor there. And she just said like, oh, we have these drama classes, like your kids could come along. So me and Yasmin, my sister, started going to her drama classes. And then from there, she said, oh, I do these dance classes called Boys Moves. And it's like, it was kind of literally just like a place where all boys go and just run around and let off steam really at first. But from there, I think I just got like the taste of it, and then started going to a dance school called Wrigley Bank Ballet School in Milnthorpe, which is where I started more like jazz, modern, more of like the traditional like training kind of like roots.
And during this process, Liam, were you meeting any other boy dancers? Because it is quite unusual, especially for Cumbria.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like it was so rare because this class that I started at the brewery was called Boys Move, so it was just boys. And I think I was in like the first kind of like branch of it, and there was like a class of probably about like 10 to 15 boys, and like that was rare in itself to have. But I knew Helen, like it was such a passion of hers to get us like a place where boys can come and dance, because obviously it was such like a rare thing. And then I know from that it then like developed, and there was quite a few classes of it, so I know it like really took off, which was amazing because I know a lot of boys wouldn't have the confidence to go to dance classes, scared that they might be the only boy, or you know, it's not like a safe space for them. So this was like a really nice place where like it was just boys and you could just go and start. It was a good like starting level, really.
And how did the girls kind of react to that, and the other boys react to you? How did that kind of dynamics work?
Like the girls were just fine, like because we would do shows like at the brewery, so like each dance group, we used to do these like little festival things that each dance group would do like a number and would do a show. And in terms of like girls and boys like outside of dance, like I think I was lucky in the sense I did it from a young age, and everyone where I'm from went to primary school, nursery, like we all grew up knowing each other. And I never really, apologized for what I was doing or who I was. Like I was like, yep, I go to ballet, I dance, I love it, it's fine. Like, and I think everyone just accepted that because I accepted it. So I didn't really give an option for people to have a problem with it because I didn't have a problem with it. So they just accepted it. And then luckily for me, like I then went to high school with all the same people. So then when I started to take it more professionally and further, I think it was a lot more respected rather than like what's going on here. Like I can remember my head teacher would even allow me like leniency on lessons or like deadlines because she knew that I was like training outside of school. And everyone just kind of had like a mutual respect for it because they knew that that's what I did. And like I'd always done that. So it was nothing new and surprising at that point, which was really nice.
No. I think, there is, well, I feel that with your generation, it does seem to be more accepting of differences and accepting of diversity and, people who look a little bit different, act a little bit different. I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying that, when I went to school, the norm was the norm. And if you outside the norm at all, you were at risk of getting bullied or at least just name calling or, segregated a little bit. But I think as your generations progress and hopefully future generations, I think we are embracing more as a culture of diversity. Do you agree with that? Is that
definitely, yeah. And I do think I was still part of that like transitioning process. Like I always say like I wasn't ever bullied. Like I would never say that I was bullied, but I was obviously teased and like people, made comments on it or jokes about it. And it was still like growing up, I knew I was doing something that wasn't in the norm. Like I wasn't receiving the same comments that boys would do if they went to football and rugby every weekend. Like I was receiving different comments because I was going to ballet and gymnastics and things like that. But like I said, I never apologized it for myself. Like I never showed any signs of like feeling unsure about what I was doing. And honestly, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I wasn't that kid that walked in, like, was nervous about wearing my hoodie that said like ballet school across the back. Like I used to wear it to primary school and I wouldn't care. Like, and I still don't know like why I had that mentality, but I'm so glad I did and I think because of that, people just saw that I was so confident with it. And I guess they just thought there's no point in teasing him because he's so proud about it. So
I think that's a good lesson for everybody, actually, isn't it? If you're proud of your passion, even if it could make you the object of being teased, actually your confidence then stops you being teased in a way, doesn't it? So it's kind of have the inside first.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I could talk to you about this all day because it fascinates me that we've got a fantastic performing arts star from such a small community like Sedbergh, where most of the guys there, let's face it, are farmers, boys.
Yeah.
Definitely more on the masculine non-art side of the spectrum. So I think you've done a fantastic thing. So you left Sedbergh and went to where?
So like my last years of Sedbergh, I was wondering like what I wanted to do next, and I found the Brit School in Croydon, which I just heard of because of its like famous alumni, and I was just a bit like, I want to go there, fancy a bit of that. So I applied, and that I think that as well, like that was a different process because I think as well everyone's kind of mindset was a bit like, someone from such a small town to move to London at the age of 16 and go to a school that's got such like a reputable alumni list. Like it was all a bit like, what are you doing? Like, why are you even bothering, kind of thing. And I think as well, like I said, my mum always says, like I brought the idea to her. And I think she kind of just said, like, do you know what? Like, if you can sort it out and if you can audition and get in, then fine, you can go. Probably thinking in the back of her mind, like, oh, bless him, like, whatever. So yeah, I'm rambling, but I auditioned for the Brit School, got in, moved to
Your mum has always been your biggest fan. She never showed me any doubt.
No. I don't think she doubted it, but I think she probably was just thinking like I don't think she'd processed the fact that like her child would be moving away at 16 and stuff until it actually happened. And I don't think I did either, really.
too. And also, you were her baby. You were her third. Same as
Yeah.
Tess, my baby. And to let go in such a big way, you know, her and I had lots and lots of conversations about it and about what the practicalities were going to be. Because I think that helped her really, understanding how you were actually going to live every day. You know, who was going to make your meals, who's going to do your washing, who would you go to if there was a problem, and all that you were sorting out on top of you getting into probably the most famous performing arts school in the UK, which is such an exciting time. Tell us about who's been at Brit School, who is the famous alumni.
So we've got like Adele, Jessie J, Ella Rare, Amy Winehouse. I always just like name like the most famous like pop stars and stuff, but there's actually such like a long list of like filmmakers and songwriters and artists, and Jasmine Lewis Humphrey, a lovely little artist. So yeah, like there's just like a world of arty people that have just like branched out from there and done amazing things, really.
So it's a lot easier, isn't it, to get into the Brit School if you're local to the Brit School, because they do have a catchment area, and then they have a small number of people that get in from outside that. Is that right? Yeah,
I think it's like 90%. So like 10% are from outside the catchment area, which again, I think was another kind of figure that kind of scared me. Was a bit like, well, this like seems the impossible then. But yeah, just. And
do you know what the stats are? Do you know how many people audition for how many places or apply?
I don't know. It depends for each strand, because like I was on musical theatre and that had about like 70 people on the strand, whereas some strands like more like visual art and design and stuff might have had like less students. So it kind of depends like per strand, but musical theatre was definitely the most like applied for as well, because it's just like the most popular there really, and music as well.
Liam, very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud now, all these years later. Yeah, it's fantastic. So then from there you left and you went to a different London school, didn't you? What was that?
Yeah, so I went to Laine Theatre Arts in Epsom. So that's more, that was a 3-year course for professional musical theatre. So trained there for 3 years, and that really like sets you up for a career in musical theatre. Brit was a bit more like broader, but yeah, that was more.
So Brit School was more like you're learning your art, and then Laine's was more about making it more of a commercial expectation. Is that right?
Yeah. Like a lot of people went to Laine in different levels as well, but a lot of people go there from a more dance background, which is where I came from. But after Brit, I was a bit more like singing, dancing, acting, because I kind of like evened it out. But Laine is quite like a heavy like dance-based college as well, so a lot of people come with like just a strong dance background.
So when did you get your first paid job?
Well, at Laine, we do it quite differently. So mine was quite early. So we are allowed to do pantomime during our time training, which is quite rare because a lot of colleges don't like you to work until you're like a finished product. But we are allowed to. So I did my first pantomime in Halifax when I was in the Christmas of my second year. So I'd just done a term of second year.
You were 18, 19?
19, I think, yeah. And that was just so weird. I can just remember like being in the room, and because until that point it was all just kind of like for the fun of it or for the love of it, and like, you know, you just enjoyed being there. And I can remember just like doing my first week and just having like had a great time, and then receiving this like money into my account, and I was just like, I can remember saying to someone like, I find it really weird that someone wants to pay me to like sing and dance.
That's so funny.
But yeah, like, and that was when it was good, because it's like,
really, you hadn't had that in your mind as a career, as a paid career all along. You've just been thinking, how can I get into theatre? How can I do what I love to do? And you've been forgetting about the paid part of it.
Yeah, I think you forget it's like a business. Like we definitely learned that more like going throughout Laine, and like it's really easy, I think, to separate like the fact that you're a business, and you yourself are the product that like you're selling. And I think that's where like complications come with people like doing things maybe like underpaid, because a lot of people just want to do things for the love of it, and that's where you have to like really stop and think like, hang on, am I being rightly paid for my work here? But yeah, that's like
sorry, I'm trying to read our comments, and I can't do that without clicking on it, and now it's just I've got you twice. sorry.
No worries.
Shelley Roslin says, so lovely to hear about your journey, Liam. I think it'll be so helpful for young artists looking at what's possible and what training looks like in a career path. So thank you for the chat, Sam and Liam. So that's nice. Thank you, Shelley. Someone else has said something as well, but I can't actually see who it was. So if you are trying to leave a comment, just let us know who you are, and then we'll be able to see who the comments are. Sorry, but yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? About the fact that, and I think the same is true of a lot of different sort of art careers, like say photography or filmmaking or music production, that so many people do it for free, and some people can afford to, right? So their family bankroll them or support them or whatever. But actually, it does take away from the commerciality of it, doesn't it? And people like you, I'm presuming you don't have oodles of money in the bank, so therefore you need to turn this into a paid career, and therefore it's really important to you that you're going to be strategic about the roles you take and how you get paid. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like I learned that a lot on Priscilla that I was just doing, and even though I was just doing it for a short period of time until it got cut off, but and before that I'd only really done pantomime, which is like you do it for like a maximum of 5-7 weeks or something. So you don't really see it in like the long term of like earning. But with Priscilla, like just everything that's involved, it really like taught me how much you are respected. And like I would go into work, and even little tiny things like I said to my friend one day, like, oh, I need to buy a new kind of hairspray, and he was like, well, you'll get it for free. And like it just didn't really process that like that's something that we use for work, so we get it given for work because like it all works like that. Whereas I've never been used to that before, like little tiny things. And it teaches you how to like think of it more as a business in the long term and what you are owed for your work.
And also all the decade and more you've put into learning your craft.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's been extraordinary. Do you think the fact that you did have to go away from home, you did have to be very self-sufficient, do you think all that has made you a better artist at the end of the day?
I think it's probably definitely made me more driven. Like, I think I've always been aware that I'm like away for a reason. Like, I think if I was staying at home or something, it might have not driven me as much because you're more comfortable. But I knew that like I've moved away to make a career in performing arts. So if I don't do that, then like what have I done this for, kind of thing. I can remember one of my friends one day saying to me like, oh God, like I can only dream of being in a West End show one day. And I was a bit like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, I know it sounds like something that everyone's like, oh my God, it's a dream, or like, God, I'd love to be in a musical theatre show. And it is still like that. But part of me is still always like, I don't think I should see that as like such an unachievable thing, because I'm like, what else would I do? Because this is what I've trained to do.
But you trained to do all your life, isn't it?
Yeah, and like moved away at such a young age to do.
I know. It makes me laugh a bit. I know it's not quite the same, but when people say, you're so lucky to live in Windermere, I'm like, I'm not lucky, I moved here.
Yeah. You made the choice.
No, look, it wasn't like, whoa, I'm in Windermere. And it's the same with you, if you end up on a West End stage, it's because you've worked your absolute socks off for almost all your life to do that.
Yeah.
And I think you're right.
As well, like, but we are always aware of how lucky we are, because like it's such a competitive industry. Sorry, I need to turn my laptop on, it's not charging. There we go. It's such a competitive industry, and like, so when you do get those jobs, like you are so lucky to be in that position and like have been chosen, and we will always remember that. But I do think as well, like people are worried of coming across, like arrogant, but I do think you have to give yourself that kind of like, you've put all this hard work in, like you're the one who's done it, so celebrate it.
And how would you see the line between, and we'll move on to your advice, sorry, but I'm fascinated by this. How would you see the line between sort of confidence and arrogance in this? Because you don't want to come across as cocky, do you?
No, of course, yeah.
Entitlement, but you've still got to be confident about your abilities and, you know, and your aspirations.
I think it's always just about being yourself and just being a nice person. Like a lot of the time when we've had advice from like industry professionals and stuff at college, people ask, like, what's your advice and how to make it and stuff. And I think people expect them to come out with this like A to Z list. But a lot of the time people just say, just be yourself and just be a nice person. And I think if you're the way you're coming across is nice and respectable, then what you're saying, like if you're asking for something because like I was just saying, like, what you deserve because you're a business and this is your job and whatever, then I don't think people would accept, like, see you coming across as cocky, because you're just simply like being respectful and asking and knowing your rights, kind of thing. But I think a lot of people you do just want to be like, in our industry, it's a lot of people just want to be like people pleasers, which is so understandable. And I've been that all the time as well, because you do just want to, you know, make people happy in hopes that they'll give you like the job or the experience or something in return. And I think that's great. Like, you should always want to do that as well, but know like kind of where the line is of where your business head has to like come into it and just think like, no, I am a professional, not an amateur anymore.
And being authentic then. So you better being your authentic self. So
yeah.
So people pleasing, I mean, you know, actors are known for you know, this of the loving mentality, which is that everybody loves everybody, and that it feels a bit inauthentic to an outsider. But you know, I'm sure that you do have your close-knit group of friends and your support network, and so if you're yourself and you don't get accepted for that, then perhaps it's not the right role. Do you look at it like that?
Yeah, maybe. And I just think like there is so much, like, I think because we're doing a job that we all love, like there is so much like love and excitement and positivity like in our work. Like I can remember the day that Priscilla finished, I just said like how lucky was I to have a job that I'm like devastated that I have to finish. And I think that is what our industry is filled with. So I think people can, you know, look at it negatively if someone is saying, you know, that they don't agree with something or that they think something's not right. But I think if you do feel that, you have to stand up and say it, because otherwise that's when people can, you know, get walked over or something, but from someone else's benefit. So I think it's just about being authentic self, but always just being a nice, respectable person. If something doesn't feel right, then maybe say, you know, I don't feel comfortable with this, but in a respectable way that isn't rude or mean or out of line.
You must have to have a lot of strength of will and character as well, because you must have had so many rejections, so many no's. I can only imagine, you know, and you are exceptionally, you know, obviously very talented. You've put all the work in, you look great, you know, so those people who, you know, are missing one of those factors, that they could really struggle, couldn't they?
Yeah, and I think that's as well, like, yeah, we have to, that's again another thing, we have to kind of give yourself like the pat on the back, like when you remember, because we just become normal to it. Like it's just normal to go through a couple of months or weeks, whatever, of your agent sending you to auditions and just having the no, or a recall and then a no, or getting that excitement of, oh, like I'm nearly getting the job.
No to you, Liam. How could that do it? The rest of the talent must be incredible.
You just get used to it. Like some things just aren't for you, and you just have to accept that, and you can't think about it, because if you think about it, then it'll just eat you up and you just get exhausted by it. But then, like I was saying, like that you should be able to give yourself that pat on the back when you do finally get something and it does finally work your way, and instead of, you know, remembering all the no's you got, just be like, you know, this is the one yes that was meant for me, and like, yeah, like how lucky am I to have this opportunity, kind of thing.
That's lovely. And do you know, some good life lessons there. Really good life lessons. But let's move on to our tips. So, because I know I could just talk to you all day about this, and I'm sorry.
I know it's going to happen. I can do.
We'll get to the tips. So we'll keep them fairly short, because you've covered a lot here. But what are you going to share with us today? What are these 5 elements?
Yeah, so I was thinking about things for like adults and children. And I think with my social media being predominantly people in the musical theatre industry, I'm seeing a lot of people doing these online classes, like Instagram Live, for either like dance classes or yoga or fitness or anything. But I was thinking, I don't know if people from outside of this industry are seeing this as much. So I thought I'd give a few like names, just quick Instagram handles. And we'll
put them in the notes afterwards as well, so people don't
Yeah. So one's called Magnetic Movement, which is at magneticmovement_1. And they give a weekly timetable of all different classes every day, of different levels, of different styles, anything you can do. Some could be for children, some could be for adults.
Dancing or for acting?
These are like more dance based or like physical based. So some of them are like would be like a class. So you do like exercises and then you do a routine. Some of them will be like a fitness class. I know some of them do like yoga. So all different, like kind of like physical stuff.
Well, I suppose there's quite a few at the moment. There's a lot of competition for your active time in front of the TV or in front of a computer. But actually, some of what you've just said is it feels like it's a bit more designed to help you progress if you wanted to get into. Right. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Like I know there's ones for kids where, you know, if you had a child who has never had a dance class before or has started doing dance, like all different levels. And you know, you could just give it a go, like just put it on, let them follow it. If it doesn't work out, forget it, try something new the next week, like a different class on the list. And there's another one called West End Workshops Live, which is good because they are paying the performers who are taking the classes. So I think you give a small donation on their GoFundMe page, and then you'll get a Zoom. This is through Zoom, so you'll get a Zoom link. And that's beneficial because then performers who are out of work are getting a little bit of something for like their time.
That's great.
Yeah. So because you've got a lot for kids, but also for adults, it's not necessarily on these timetables, but I know a lot of fitness studios are doing live workout classes as well. And I was thinking, especially for people like around this area, we don't have access to things like Barry's Boot Camp or One Rebel or these big like commercial names that they have in the cities. But a lot of these instructors are doing live classes like every day. So you can have a class from a professional Barry's instructor like in your living room for free, and you're not missing out on the kind of classes that people usually get when you're really living in a city.
That's amazing. So that's a massive advantage, isn't it, to be able to get access to those kind of guys and to get it for free as well.
Yeah, they're usually really expensive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, great. So join an online class where perhaps you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Use this opportunity during lockdown to go and just try something out, see how it goes.
Try something new. There's like beginners ballet classes, beginners tap classes, if you ever wanted to learn tap.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I feel a bit self-conscious, I think, doing it. My dog might laugh at me.
Well, this is good. No one can see you like trying this new thing. It's a perfect time to try something new.
Okay, what's the next one?
So my next one was just like things to keep children creative. And I just said like doing little like drama games, like role plays within the house. So you could, I don't know, like set up a shop. And I think that I was trying to think of like this could like come into terms like all the what's it called?
Homeschooling.
Oh, homeschooling. Yeah, that's happening at the because obviously all the schools are closed. So if you like set up a shop, do all your prices, and let them be the shopkeeper, where they have to do like the interaction with the customers, and then maybe even like price up their little items like on their tills and things like that. So like, and I know I used to love doing things like that when I was younger, like with my sisters. Or, like,
and you always had to, if we ever did like a fairy tale, because that's the other one we could do, isn't it? A fairy tale. You always had to be the princess as well.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Used to argue loads about who's going to be, or the lead character, whoever the lead character was. So
yeah.
So if you've only got one child, how would you do it with just one child? I suppose the shop one would work quite well. They've got no interaction between themselves. So, and what I've noticed is some parents are having to play with their kids for possibly the first time in a concerted way. You know.
Yeah.
So how would they take on those roles?
So like, I think it's all just about getting involved yourself and like having no kind of insecurities around it. Like you're with your kids. If your child says, you know, like we're off to the woods, we're going to go, I don't know, do whatever in the woods, find a cottage and bake a cake. You go into the woods, you find the cottage and you bake the cake. Like just invest yourself into it, because they will be like, children are always invested into things. Like whenever they're playing or they're, you know, making up stories or they're, you know, playing these games, they are always so invested. Like they will truly believe they are in that cottage in the woods. So if you go along with them, then they don't need like siblings and stuff, like parents, grandparents, anything. I find just to get involved with them.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Keep the brains ticking.
Okay, what's the next one?
Next one was...
do you know Chelsea Terrell?
Oh yeah.
She's just saying how amazing and talented you are. So you've got a fan.
Bless her. Hello, Chelsea. So my next one was like home theatre and cinema nights. So again, if you have kids, there's a lot of musicals being streamed online, or obviously like films you can find. So the ones that I know that have been done recently, Andrew Lloyd Webber has got this YouTube page called The Show Must Go On. And last week he did Phantom of the Opera. And then this week was Love Never Dies. And they are live. It was like the 25th anniversary or something. But it's like a live show. So then
actors on the stage, are they?
Yeah. So it's like the full production. The one for Phantom was at the Royal Albert Hall. So it's not the one that's filmed like in the theatre. Obviously, them two aren't quite suitable for kids. But if you just type in online a musical, sometimes people put up like bootlegs, which aren't really loud, but you can find them. Or a lot of shows have been filmed professionally. So I know like Shrek, I think, was on Broadway, Kinky Boots, 42nd Street, and these are like within the theatre. And then they were like Billy Elliot as well. They were put into the cinemas, so it's like the full show.
Wow.
And I was just thinking, like with kids, you could again get them to, you know, do the experience themselves. So like make little tickets and, you know, make like the little snacks and then have like an interval and make like them be the ushers and like selling like the snacks and stuff. Just things to like keep them creative and like make a full evening out of it rather than just flicking on a film. You know, be like, okay, like we're going to go to the theatre tonight, make like a program or something, like give them something to do that they can make a whole day of it, and then in the evening.
It's like an experience then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Character, I suppose, couldn't they? Or try out one of the scenes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, or the next day, like, you know, write about what they watched, or yeah, like make a play themselves based on like the characters that they've seen in the musical. Yeah, and it's great. So the show must go on is Andrew Lloyd Webber's thing, which I think there might be another one this week. But yeah, if not, just Google the musical and then put like live versions. Some of them you might have to like buy for like £3-4 or something. But it'll be worth it. It's good.
Of course, £3-4 to see a West End show like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing, brilliant.
Comfort your own house.
Comfort your own house with your own popcorn.
Yeah.
Save all that money, not going down to London. Okay, what's next on, Liam?
So my last one is I just put like support live theatre, because I think a lot of people in our industry are talking at the moment about what a scary time it is, because obviously all live shows are closed down, like the whole of the West End, the whole of Broadway, all UK tours. And a lot of people are saying, you know, instead of, maybe if you've already got a show booked in, instead of asking for a refund straight away, maybe asking, you know, to change your ticket to another date, because it can really help theatres and producers when it's such an overwhelming time for them with those shows closing down. And I just said, like, if you usually go and see a panto around Christmas time, maybe book your tickets now and have it like a date set in mind of like when you're going to go. Like with your family, it can be like a nice thought to be like, okay, at this time of year, we're going to go and do this, because obviously at the moment people aren't getting out and doing things. And like the worst that can happen is that it'll be cancelled and you'll get a refund. Like, and as well, I just thought like maybe with UK tours, there's so much stuff that comes like to the Northwest. Like Priscilla was going to come to all the venues around here, and I've booked to do another tour, which I'm not sure what the like status of it is yet. That's starts like in summer, or meant to start in summer. That's going to come to like Blackpool, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Liverpool, and maybe like have a look at these theatres and see what's coming. And even just like, again, plan like a family day, plan a date and say, you know, like on this day, we're going to go to Manchester, obviously, depending in mind, like financial situations and stuff. But I just thought it'd be a nice thing to plan ahead and be like, obviously, everyone's stuck at the moment. But if you had that thought of something to work towards, you know, this date in November, we're going to go out and we're going to go watch this show in Manchester. And again, like if you book it and it gets cancelled, you'll just get a refund. So, you know.
Yeah, so it's safe. And so you're absolutely right, because we don't want to lose our musical theatre, and there must be an awful lot of touring companies that are in serious financial difficulties at the moment. And of course, you know, you are probably entitled to a refund, but if you take a refund, you are putting that, you know, touring company in jeopardy, aren't you?
Yeah.
So actually not taking a refund or even booking something ahead, I think is a great idea. It's a great way to show your support.
Yeah, and it's nice because a lot of companies like are financially stable to rebook the dates like later on down the line. I know a lot of the shows have already booked in their dates for like next year, so your date would be transferred. But yeah, there are a lot of production companies that can't do that, and it is sad. So it's important, I think, to keep hold of the ones that are able to change and be able to be in that financial position, because otherwise we would just lose all of them, really.
Exactly. No, they're great. I really love all those. What's next for Liam then? Obviously, a lot of it is up in the air, but what do you think is going to happen for you over the coming months? What do you know is going to happen?
So Priscilla, we had until the end of May, and then we were meant to go to 3 European countries in June. That's obviously all been cancelled now, but I know that they're, you know, wanting to already book in the remaining dates with theatres around the UK and carry it on. So hopefully something like that could be achieved. And
What's your character, by the way, in that? What role do you play?
So I was a swing. So I actually joined late because the tour started in September, and I only just started in February. Because a swing's role is you learn all the ensemble tracks. So I would start off by learning all the boys in the show, and then mix around. So the plan is that whenever someone in the ensemble either has to go on for a lead role or is off sick, then the swing replaces them. And it got to a point in the tour where they just desperately needed another swing. And I'd auditioned for it the January before. So they asked me to come and join. But it was good because I would have then been ensemble for the international section because some people had to leave and things. So I would have changed around. But yes, a swing, which is a really exciting role because you're never doing the same thing.
Yeah, really challenging. So you do your panto normally in a normal year, sort of from December, I don't know, to January or something.
Yeah.
And what do you do in the summer then, or just have the rest of the year off, Liam?
So I have been a bit different because I only graduated last July. So when I graduated in July, we were auditioning from kind of the January of our third year for shows of various different contracts, so cruises, which can take you off for 11 months, Western shows, which are mostly a year contract, tours, which can be quite a bit longer. And it got to July and I hadn't got anything yet that I'd decided upon. So I did a little show at a theatre in London called the Union Theatre, called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And that was amazing. So that was 2 months, just over 2 months. And then that took me then onto panto, which I did from mid-November to January. And then from January till February, I was just auditioning, working in a singing bar, working as a nanny, just doing
Where do you actually live?
So I live in a flat in West London with 4 friends from college, which is really, really nice. And we all do the same thing. So one of my housemates is in Mamma Mia in the West End. And then the other 2 just working and auditioning. My housemate Martha works at Topshop. Rosie does a lot of dance classes back home and in London and stuff. So yeah, you've just got to fill your time with things to keep you creative, while you're auditioning. Because obviously there are long periods of time where you're not working, but hopefully that time is worthwhile because you'll then audition for something that could give you a job for a year or over.
So looking back over Liam's career, I'm going to ask you a really hard question now. What's the one thing that you wish you'd known back then?
Oh, I think the one thing I wish I'd known, especially at college, is that it's not a race. I think because it's something that we've been wanting to do. Usually when you're in this industry, you've been wanting to do it since a child. You start your dance classes when you're little. You just want to get going as soon as possible, and you just want to take every opportunity, which is amazing, and you should take every opportunity because every opportunity is a learning experience, but not everything's right for you. And I had a really stressful time in third year because it was like a race who could get the job the quickest. And if you got a job, then you were celebrated by everyone else in your year. But I got offered a job at one point, and I can remember I rang my new agent that I was just about to sign with, and I can remember ringing her and being like, "Oh, I've got this job. I'm really excited." And she just said, "It's not right for you. I don't want you to take it right now." And it was a well-paid job. It was a long job, but I can just remember being really confused. But then when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, she's so right. And everyone's on a different journey. Yours is completely different to everyone else in your year. So what's right for them might not be right for you. And it was just important to sit back and listen to the advice of people like teachers and agents and people who've been in this profession for so much longer than obviously we have as new graduates. So that was difficult because I think at first I was a bit why wouldn't you want me to take this job? I've done really well. I've got this, and everyone's telling me that I'm amazing and it's great that I've got this. But I think when you sit back and think hang on, is it actually right for me? It's a full different process. So I would have saved myself a lot of I think stress, especially at college, if I'd have just gone, just sit back, take a breath. Not everything has to happen within the first month of you leaving college. You don't have to be on the West End stage within weeks of leaving your college and things like that. So yeah.
It's not a race. I mean, that's another good life lesson, I think, Liam.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up now. And how can people follow you? Where's your kind of digital or your social media home base?
Yeah. So my Instagram is, I have to remind myself.
Where you spend most of your time on Instagram?
Yeah, it's Liam Dean _ and I think my Twitter is the same. So that will have like all my updates on whatever I'm doing or where I am in the country.
Right. Okay. So they can follow you there and then come and see you.
Yes.
And I can't wait till Priscilla starts again because I want to come and see you in Blackpool. I'll bring everybody to come and see you.
Yeah. And if this other show works out that I'm meant to be doing, then I'll be in Blackpool as well. So.
Brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Okay, well done. Liam, you've been a star. I know we've talked a lot and the tips weren't the biggest part of it, but I think it's good for people to hear your journey because people get inspired by hearing journeys. And I think your journey has been one of dedication, hard work and confidence, and that authentic self that you portray. I think that's really valuable for young people to hear particularly.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Sorry, I need to cough them.
That's not a corona cough though, is it? It's just a cough.
It's just a cough. I think my coffee's just like sat in my throat.
All right, look, I'm going to let you go, and thank you very much, Liam, for today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great. All right, see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.